How was your motorcycle ride in the parade?
Good.
I bet you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
See the people better. They can see you better. Jamie wouldn't stay in the car. He kept jumping out. He tried to get Andy to leave him, but he wouldn't.
I knew he couldn't go anywhere.
Couldn't go far, could he?
No.
Call to order the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners, Monday, September 23rd, 2019 at 6 o'clock. As always, we'll start with invocation. It's Commissioner Mendenhall's turn.
Thank you. Join me if you would like, please. Almighty, gracious Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for such a beautiful day. Lord, you are the creator of all things, and we give you praise for everything. Father, we thank you for this meeting tonight. We thank you for the crowd that we have this evening. We really appreciate the people that comes out and participates in our county government. And we just ask that you bless them and give them a safe journey home, and also our commissioners a safe journey home. Now, Lord, as we go into this, we ask for thy wisdom as we go about the county's business. All these things we ask in thy precious name. Amen.
Amen. Please continue standing for our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, we'll move on to our approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
A motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we'll have our comments from our Commissioner and County Manager now, starting with Commissioner Morris.
I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight. We got a fairly interesting agenda, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, sir. Good to see each of you this evening, and hope you'll find your time here well spent, and hope it won't be the only time you come in the near future. Like to see you again. And I don't know about the other commissioners, but I expect they might share this view. But I look out and see people looking back at me, see people who have taken their time to be here, and maybe as regular as Katie back there, or others who come just every now and then. For whatever reason brought you here, I want to thank you for being here, because I think people being out in the audience and watching the process as it happens in person, I believe that helps things to go better. I think that makes me feel like more people are interested. And if more people are interested, I think the process is working. That's enough about that. But one more thing real quick. I didn't spend much time at the Stokes Stomp, just a little bit. Didn't really get down and get very involved, but the parade was nice, and the weather turned out to be good, and for all indications, it's a good event. Nice that we have that and have had it for as long as we have. And sometimes when something goes on that long, we kind of take it for granted, and we don't realize just how nice it is or can be. I think that's true of the Stokes Stomp. I think it's something that when we really stop and think about it, that's a real nice, positive thing for our county. Could go on, Mr. Chairman, but you'll roll me eyes at it if I keep going. I'm going to stop there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Younts.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. Great attendance. You guys, a beautiful night out, beautiful day here in Stokes County. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm looking forward to some fall weather if we can ever get some. So
Amen.
that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mendenhall.
Thank you, Commissioner Nicholson. I do want to just let the audience know that last week at the Stevens Center in Winston-Salem, we had the presidential inauguration of our new president of Forsyth Tech, Dr. Janet Spriggs, and I was able to be there along, I think, with Commissioner Morris, I see Mr. Oakley, Shannon, Will Carter, I think, was there. And we had a good representation of people from Stokes County. And it was a very, very good experience, a good event. And I just wished everybody from Stokes County, I gave our, from all the people of Stokes County, I let the people at Forsyth Tech know how much we appreciate being in cooperation with them and all the things that we do with them. Just wish you could have been there. It was a very nice event, very nice event. And for all the people that have called me in the last 10 days, I appreciate it. I have had several calls. And if I was out of it and didn't take your call, forgive me. I had knee surgery, I had a torn meniscus on my left knee. And I just talked to Marvin, and he said he had a knee replacement, and several people here. I didn't realize knee replacements were so common, but I guess either knee replacements or arthroscopic knee surgery. Mr. Yance, yours will be coming one day when you get a little older, but
I heard they're contagious.
yeah, they are. They are very contagious. But no, thanks for all the calls I got. I got several phone calls from y'all, and thanks a lot. Thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of y'all. Thank you so much for being here. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
As the other commissioner said, good to see y'all here tonight. And I tell you what, everybody keeps saying how small the county was and everything else, but there's a lot of events that's been going on this past week over the weekend. I really enjoyed getting to hit a lot of them, and the ones I didn't make it to, I greatly apologize. As anybody up on this board can tell you, it's a lot of times you try to hear everything you can, and just because it won't come don't mean we don't care, so please don't think it by no means. But really enjoyed all the events we did. With that, I just want to ask you to also to please remember Kyle Hall, our House representative, him and his family in prayer right now with the accident that's happened Friday night. His family was involved in, so just please keep that in mind. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our county manager, Mr. Oakley.
I don't really have anything to talk about, Mr. Chairman, other than Stokes Stomp was a success this year. It was a one-nighter, so I hope everybody kind of liked that. And if you have remarks on it, give Eddie McGee a call. And he'll, but Arts Council do a wonderful job for that. So it was a good event. So
Really enjoyed it.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our information agenda. First up, we have Y. Betty. I'm sorry. With public comments, we had nobody to sign up, so with that, consent. Yeah, we didn't do consent. I apologize. Y'all ignore me. I run into fumes in here. I had to run from one to the next and throw pants on and come straight back here, so I'm not all here yet.
We'll help you out. It's okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Julie, on the, that chimney repair thing, you took it out of contingency. We got that capital reserve fund still in place for working on buildings, or did you?
I didn't know if I had enough in there or not, because we've taken quite a bit out of it.
Okay, so that's why you did contingency. Also, on one other thing on the budget amendments, could somebody refresh my memory a little bit on the incident command vehicle or trailer that we're getting? What is that exactly?
They found the used one.
We're going to use that instead of the,
Yeah, they're gonna get, the one we got.
so a trailer is going to replace the RV
Yeah,
thing,
that command center.
and everybody's happy that's good enough to do it. So.
Yeah. Sheriff, Brandon and Dale Hall all looked at it.
They're all satisfied? Okay, well, I'm good then. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Now let's move on to this information agenda. Starting off with Y. Betty, Mr. Jeff Cochran.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to come and present our service to your board. I'd written a letter. I assume that you folks had that in your information packet. I'm not going to read it to you, but I would like to hit a few of the bullet points. YVETI's had a great relationship with the people here in Stokes County, the people we serve, the human service agencies. Recently, when Stokes DSS informed us that J.D. Cruz was no longer going to be providing service, we offered to help Stokes and fill in the gap since there was losing a provider. We now understand that Stokes commissioners have approved the 2 transportation providers. We want you to know that YVETI stands ready to be a good partner, and we'll provide as much service as possible. However, for greatest efficiency for all Stokes residents, we recommend using a coordinated model. In this model, the new providers would be assigned the night and weekend trips and any overflow trips that do not fit within the public transportation's existing schedule. We'd also recommend that Wyvetti be given first refusal for weekday trips so that those trips could be interwoven with the trips that we already have going. Any trips that are not feasible or do not coordinate well with our existing trips would be passed back to Stokes DSS or the other department and assigned to the new providers. We also want you to know that we're invested in Stokes County. We just provided shuttle service to the Stomp this past weekend. We do that free of charge. We only collect donations from the riders if they give any. This year we've added Reach the Peaks. We're doing it the same way. There's no charge for that. Also, as a recipient of the State Rural Operating Assistance Program, we provide transportation to critical medical riders that require dialysis and other life-sustaining services. And we do this 12 months out of the year, whether we have funding for that or not. It's certainly understandable that Stokes ensure there's adequate transportation, and we just want to assure you that we have the capacity to fulfill those needs. And we'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody on the board who wishes to ask a question or comment? Mr. Walker?
Thanks, sir. Jeff and I go back a long ways. I've served on the board many years, and appreciate the job you do. You certainly cover the bases well, and you seem to have in this letter that you sent for us. Jeff, I'm wondering who you might have talked to regarding the coordination of efforts. Have you talked with Stacy and DSS, or have you talked with any of the folks from any of the other providers, or are you just kind of putting everything into place now, or what is the status of kind of communicating with the other providers and users?
This is just the beginning of my efforts to implement this type of a plan. We think it would be better for us to be able to provide service to residents who maybe don't have a funding source that can pay for trips, if we can coordinate trips together. So if you were going to the beach, you wouldn't send your children on in a different car. You'd all get in the same car together. So what we don't want to do is, in my opinion, us go down the road with a RGP or a elderly and disabled rider, and then the other provider come right in behind us with a Medicaid or senior services provider. Just doesn't make economical sense to me. So that's my thought process. So to answer your question, no, we haven't got started with explaining that to our DSS department yet.
Okay. I know a few years or so ago, Wyvetti invested in a pretty high-tech, up-to-date system, dispatch system. Will it come into play? Can it be useful as far as other providers, or is that just mainly, is it exclusively for Wyvetti service? Can there be any coordination through Wyvetti's dispatch?
If the, yeah, I'm sorry,
No,
I didn't mean to jump your question.
not a problem.
If the other companies use the same software, then we might could coordinate, but the softwares don't necessarily intertwine and intermingle with other softwares.
Okay, thanks, sir. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Any more questions or comments? Mr. Morrison?
Hey, Jeff, good to see you.
Hey, Rick.
When I first read this, and your explanation kind of helps a little bit with it, and kind of a follow on to Commissioner Walker's question, my first thought was it looks like the new guys are going to get all the bad trips. So, but I don't really think that's your intention, especially after what you just said. You're trying to kind of look after the riders first, it sounds like. So But I think it would be a good idea to definitely have a good coordination session with them and make sure they understand how the three are going to work together so that we can maximize that and make sure we can handle anything that you guys wouldn't be able to do. So, but given your background, I'm satisfied you can work that out. So,
We're always willing to talk.
yeah. All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else?
No, the only thing I'd like to mention real quick, and this doesn't really pertain to Wyvetti, but the bids that we received from the other two, I would think that they would be affected if we changed the model. So,
Well, they're not really anticipating, they bid Newen that they were gonna act as a secondary transportation to Wyvetti, so they're not promised any sort of business
so
at all.
it should cover
So
any.
really won't change the
okay.
contract with them. They know that they're gonna act in place of them if they can't provide the transportation.
That's good to
So,
know.
yeah.
So we're talking about two groups backing it up. The group from Rockingham County, is that right?
Right.
And the other one
That
was
other,
from
yeah, they dispatch
California.
from California, so I mean, they understand that they are a backup transportation plan in case there's issues that you can't handle the volume that's coming from JD Cruises. So,
Now, just to clarify though, you can do the weekends and nights. You just, if we're gonna do a second, would prefer that's the way the model looks.
Correct. Those are the most inefficient trips and the ones that are the highest cost,
Sure.
and rightly should be charged more for those trips.
but I think in the beginning, when maybe Glenda was putting that RFP out and talked to you some maybe about it, that, I don't know, did you talk with her about that in the beginning, that you'd want them to take the nights and weekend trips? And you were talking, I think, with Stacy, maybe and Glenda, that you thought you could provide all the service before they went out to
That's
bid for it.
correct.
Okay.
And when we told them we could do the trips, we also included a night and weekend price that's different than the day price. Our general hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday.
So to follow up what you said, Commissioner Yance, if they were going to ask them to do every night and weekend, they would want to reach out to those companies and say, we're definitely going to be using you on nights, weekend times like that. So if that's the case, yeah.
That's all I have.
Any more questions, comments? Mr. Carter, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Let us know if you have any more questions, and we need to follow up with you on it.
Okay, sounds good, thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Yes, sir, you too. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our other item on the information agenda, which is the Soil and Water Annual Report. Ms. Janice Pack.
Thank you for allowing me time on your agenda tonight to present the 2018-19 annual report of the Soil and Water Office that will be displayed on the monitors. Of course, my name is Janice Pack, and I'm the Soil and Water Director. To begin with, I'd like to recognize our local Soil and Water Board who are here tonight. James Booth, he's our chairman. Marvin Cavanaugh is our vice chairman. Johnny East is our secretary treasurer. And Darrell Lester is our newest member. Our board meets the third Wednesday of each month in the Soil and Water Office at 9 a.m., and our meetings are always open to the public. Our office staff includes myself and Daniel Ferguson, who just joined us at the end of June. He's replacing Tom Smith, who recently retired. Daniel's title is District Soil and Watershed Conservationist. We also have James Rodriguez, who is a federal employee that comes to our county about once a month to do work with our federal cost share programs. Okay, now on to the annual report. The first few pages cover the cost share programs that we administer. These programs are mainly funded through a state allocation we receive annually. No county funds are used for any of these cost share programs. The programs cost share with qualifying landowners to receive 75% of a predetermined average cost to install best management practices, with the remaining 25% paid for directly by the landowner. These best management practices are installed on agricultural land to improve water quality and prevent soil erosion. Landowners are given 3 years to install the practices after their contracts are approved by our board and the state. And contracts require a 10-year maintenance period. During that time, best management practices are subject to random spot checks by our office staff and our board to ensure their proper use. And we currently have 108 active state cost share program contracts. Okay, the first program shown here is the North Carolina Agricultural Cost Share Program. This past fiscal year, our staff wrote 7 contracts totaling $56,036. Landowners were paid a total of $42,212 for installation of the best management practices listed on that table. The next program listed at the bottom of the screen is the North Carolina Agricultural Water Resources Assistance Program, also known as AGRAP. This program was created in 2011 to promote water quantity on farms throughout the state. In the last fiscal year, our office wrote 1 AGRAP contract in the amount of $6,000 for an agricultural well. Next is the Federal Environmental Quality Incentives Program. This is, EQIP is a federal program very similar to state cost share programs, except that applicants are ranked and funded on a regional basis instead of our office receiving an annual allocation like we do for the state programs. EQIP also generally only cost shares at a 50% rate. In the 2018-19 fiscal year, a total of $227,399 was obligated to contracts in Stokes County through EQIP. A total of $374,720 was paid to local landowners who had successfully installed practices listed here in the table. Next is our no-till seed drill program. Our office received this seed drill from a grant from the North Carolina Foundation of Soil and Water Conservation in 2008. It's an effective way for our local landowners to reseed pastures, hayland, and wildlife plantings without disturbing the soil. This past fiscal year, the seed drill was used to reseed a total of 112 acres. Okay, these next few slides highlight some of the other programs we administer where cost share is not involved, but are still beneficial to the public. First, we'll start with the Voluntary Ag District Program, or VAD for short. This program enhances the identity of the agricultural community by encouraging the voluntary preservation and protection of our farmland from non-farm development. Our office staff advises and provides administrative support to the VAD board. Last year, the VAD board approved 4 new parcels into the program consisting of 184.93 acres. To date, there's currently 8,592.53 acres in the Stokes County VAD program. At the bottom of this screen, you'll see an update to our conservation easement program. In 2009, our board voted to hold conservation easements in an effort to protect riparian buffers for the benefit of water quality and to protect the river in its natural state. Our office now holds 3 conservation easements, 2 along the Dan River and 1 on the Little Snow Creek, where we completed a stream restoration project in 2017. Next is our watershed or flood control structure program. We have 24 watershed lakes in Stokes County, and that's more than any other county in North Carolina. These lakes were built when our office applied for and received federal funding from a program called PL 566 over 40 years ago. They provide flood control for over 56,000 acres in the Town Fork Creek watershed and over 36,000 acres in the Little Yadkin watershed. Our office is responsible for the maintenance of these lakes, which includes mowing the dam and spillway areas, maintaining the plunge pool areas, and removing debris from the surface areas, which amounts to approximately 75 acres. Cost to provide this annual maintenance is paid for through our county departmental budget. In July and October of 2018, all the dams and emergency spillways were mowed, and debris was also removed from several sites in the spring and fall due to flooding. Our staff and board members conducted annual watershed inspections on April 17th and 25th of this year. During these inspections, we walked the front and back side of the dams and spillways and cleaned the pipes at the plunge pool areas, as you can see from these pictures. Next is our volunteer program. When working with large groups of students or organizing community events, we often use the help of volunteers to meet our goals. This past fiscal year, we had a total of 15 volunteers who worked with our office, totaling 61 hours. The next few slides highlight our educational programs. Listed in the table are all of the educational programs we offer and the numbers of those who participated in each program. In the 2018-19 fiscal year, we reached a total of 607 citizens through these programs. Pictured here at the top left are our Conservation Farm Family of the Year and our poster contest winners who received recognition at our awards banquet held on May 21st at the Pine Hall Community Building. There were approximately 90 people in attendance at this banquet. This banquet and all of the awards we give that night, as well as all of our education programs, are paid for by the state in an annual allocation given to our department to promote environmental awareness education. Okay. On this next page, it's highlighted our Environmental Awareness Days event for all fifth graders in the county. This event is held at Hanging Rock State Park each spring and consists of 8 stations that cover conservation topics such as soils, the water cycle, and forest ecology, just to name a few. This year's event was held on April 29th and 30th and May 1st with 453 students and teachers participating, and this included all the elementary schools in the county. The next is the Resource Conservation Workshop. This workshop is held for 1 week at NC State University each summer. Each soil and water office in the state is allowed 1 spot to send a high school student who shows an interest in the conservation field. Our board selected Jesse Ellis from the Stokes Early College. In sponsorship of Jesse, our office paid his $425 registration fee and gave him a meal stipend from state funds allocated to us for education. The last program listed here on this page is the Northwest Envirothon program. The Envirothon program is an environmental competition for middle and high school students who form teams of 5 members to compete against schools across Northwest North Carolina. This year, there were a total of 300 students who participated from our 13-county region. This event was held in Wilkes County on March 26th. We had 1 5-member team from Stokes County to participate, and they were from the Stokes Early College and are pictured here. Next, we have our Farmer Appreciation Event, and I know you all know about this event because I've seen you out many times. So I won't go into a lot of detail other than that we consider it a privilege to serve our farmers at this event each year, along with all the other ag agencies that sponsor it. The 2019 event was held at South Stokes on April 4th with over 500 people in attendance, and costs to sponsor this event are paid for by local businesses at no cost to our department at all. They continue to support agriculture in Stokes County. Next, we've highlighted our public outreach efforts, which consist of our biannual newsletter. Which consist of our biannual newsletter that we send out to 1,975 citizens twice a year, and our Soil and Water website that lists details of our cost share programs and educational programs, as well as showing a calendar of our events and meetings we have scheduled. It lists conservation links and office staff contacts, as well as frequently asked questions. We also display a fair booth each year at the Stokes County Fair. In the 2018 fair, our theme was Unlock the Secrets of the Soil, which highlighted the importance of soil in our everyday lives. And last but not least, we want to thank you all, our county commissioners, and all the agencies that support our conservation programs each year, and thank you for allowing me time on your agenda tonight.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from Ms. Pack? I'll start with Commissioner Moore this time.
Janice, thanks for being here. Excellent presentation, and it's obvious you guys are really busy just from listening to your presentation. So that's really good. One question I had on the organizational change you made down in your department, is that working out good? Do you like it?
I do, and thank you for that. Yeah, it's going well.
Okay, I kind of thought it would, so but I'd kind of like to hear it back from you. So.
Yeah, everything's
All right,
going
thanks
well.
again. That was an excellent presentation as usual. That's all I have.
Commissioner Walker.
Thanks, sir. Dennis, I too would like to thank you for being here, as well as all your board members. You have good support here this evening. Not only that, they're smiling, most of them. I'm just pleasantly surprised, almost amazed at how much you folks do. If I didn't see a presentation like this, I wouldn't realize all that's going on and all that you're doing and promoting. I guess I could sort of put this in the form of a question. But along with all you're doing, and I would certainly think we compare well with most of the counties in the state. I can't imagine too many counties doing a lot more than we're doing with soil and water. Are there still some gaps? Are there still some areas that we could be doing more if we had the resources to put toward them?
Well,
Does anything kind of pop out with you or any of your board members, if I may, Mr. Chairman, anything anyone can think of that, gee, we're doing all this and it's working, like the no-till, we invested with that, it's paid big dividends. I forget how many years ago we did that, it's been several, I believe.
yeah, we received that piece of equipment in 2008.
Yeah, and it's still working and still paying dividends for our investment. So I guess my question, kind of, the gist of it is anyway, are there other things we could do along that line, for example, that might make things even better with soil and water here in our county?
Well, there's a never-ending need for conservation funds for practices to be put on the ground. And one of the things we're doing is we've recently applied for a grant. We did the Dan River 319 grant. I think that ran for 8 years before it ended, and we recently applied for another 3-year round of funding, and we did receive that. So that's $45,000 more coming to Stokes, and we do that in conjunction with Rockingham and Caswell counties, because we're all in the Dan River Basin. So we did receive that $45,000, and we'll be getting it probably late next fall. And anytime we hear of grant funds available to put more work on the ground, we try to apply for those, as well as equipment. Sometimes the North Carolina Foundation offers equipment, and I have emailed our director in the last month and asked her if they were going to be doing another round of funding for that, and just so we could keep, I could keep our board updated on that to see if there is an interest to maybe get some more equipment that would help local landowners. But other than that, anything that we see available, we try to apply for. And as far as how we measure up against other soil and water districts in the state, we do all the programs outlined by the North Carolina Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. So we are considered, actually, when we go to our annual meeting in January, one of the more active conservation districts in the state.
Good deal. One more quick question, if I may. Janice, is there anything the county can do that you or your board members are aware of to support you even better? Is there anything that we might do now or in the future that would assist what the soil and water
Well, we
group is
appreciate
doing?
all the support you guys give us. The vehicle that we got recently, that's really going to help with our field work. And just any time we've ever asked for anything, you guys have been really good to support our programs. And if anything comes up with myself or our board, I'm sure we'll bring it to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Janice, thanks for the presentation. As the other two commissioners have said, I didn't realize that you guys were participating in so many things, so kudos to all you guys out there as well. The thing that kind of sticks out to me is the educational contest that you guys put on throughout the county.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of participation do you have in that? Because I see a day where, we're sitting in a kind of CTE programs in our schools, and now, to me, this is something that's critical going forward, that we're educating our youth so that we have the farmers. It's been critical for our county for so long. So what is the participation like in that? Is it growing? Is it kind of stagnant? Is it on the decline?
Well, we added 2 new contests last year because we had one that was kind of growing stagnant and we wasn't getting a lot of participation, so we added 2 new contests. So participation picked up a little bit last year. And it varies based on contest themes, what we offer, if it is in line with the objectives and goals of the Common Core Essential Standards that they have to follow, and per grade level. So what we do try to do is any programs that we offer, we try to make sure they follow those standards so that we are meeting the needs of the teachers and the students. Like our environmental awareness days, we do the 8 stations. All those stations are science-based stations that they'll be tested on, and that's what the teachers always tell me. They study these topics all year, and when they come up there, they get hands-on experiences. And then they can take it back to the classroom, and usually it's within a few weeks they have their end-of-grade test. And they can all remember coming to Hanging Rock and, doing the different stations. And
I know you've always historically had a pretty good team with the 4-H in the county. pretty good working relationship with them? Is
We
that
do.
still ongoing? I mean,
Yes.
still, okay.
Yeah, we
right.
work together with them on different projects throughout the year.
Yeah, it's just something I wanted to ask about. That it always concerns me about, there's a day that we're not going to have those farmers and things like that, and we need to make sure that we're educating. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't really have any questions. I just want to comment and say what a fantastic job you and your board members do. Known Janice a long time. Her daughter was a student of mine at North Stokes. Played on the tennis team with us. And I knew when Janice was appointed to her new position that she was going to do a terrific job. There was no doubt in my mind. I've known her for many, many years, and I knew we had a winning person right there in that position. So I say to James, Marvin, Johnny, and Dow, y'all have got a great person right here heading that up. I'm telling you that up front. And agriculture, y'all do so many things. I've gone through this many times when I was in the school system, so I know most of them. But still, two of my favorites, and I'm going to tell y'all, is the awards banquet that you have for the education part of it, for your poster contest and everything. And also, I love the farmer appreciation event. It's free to everybody. You don't have to pay. I grew up on a farm, a tobacco farm. That's where I was raised. I go over and see all the people that I know, whether it's at South Stokes, North Stokes, or wherever. And I just enjoy it. And the people, you always have good music, and I love your good free food. It's delicious. So to Janice and to all of the board members, thank y'all for the job you do. Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'll just kind of touch on what the rest of the board said. I had no idea. Now I see why James don't come hang out with us no more. He's staying pretty busy, all the stuff going on. Yeah, I bet so. But good to see all y'all here tonight. We do appreciate all y'all coming to give us an update on it. And I'll concur with Commissioner Mendenhall here. I also enjoy going to the Farmers Appreciation. I've been to it twice so far and really enjoy getting together and talking to a lot of folks there in the county. But definitely appreciate everything you guys do.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to our discussion agenda. Up first, we have the Mercer Group, Mr. Phil Robinson.
Thanks for all that you do.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Clear y'all have to read.
He's got a son named Steve, who's also a civil engineer.
Good evening. I'd like to start out by addressing any questions or concerns that you may have.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Morris.
You go first.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Good to have you with us again this
It's good to be here, sir.
I went through your survey, and that's pretty extensive. And do you have any feel for what kind of response you're getting yet, or is there a certain time that all that comes together?
I think the deadline for having the, I'm assuming you're talking about the questionnaire.
Yes, sir, the question.
Yes, sir. Oh, I draw the distinction because when we get over into the compensation side, what we send out to market organizations, we call that the survey, and we
okay.
call this the questionnaire.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate
You know how consultants are. I think that the deadline has been moved back from the 19th, but I'm not really
The
sure.
30th.
To the questionnaires are supposed to be completed and given to the employee's immediate supervisor on the 30th. And from the immediate supervisor, they will work their way up the chain of supervision to the department head.
So have you picked up on any concerns by the employees that asking for too much information or certain information they'd rather not have to deal with or anything along those lines?
Well, one thing that we try to make clear, and you can't do it all the time, in the orientation is that the classification part of the study has absolutely nothing to do with an individual employee. What we're basically doing is asking the employees to serve as a consultant to us about the major duties and responsibilities of the job across those 10 factors, which you would have seen those 10 factors as questions 1 through 10 in the questionnaire. They're the 10 factors that we'll use to classify or make a recommendation for a pay grade for every position in the study.
Sounds like so far, I hope I'm not reading too much into the information you're sharing, but it sounds like so far things are going pretty well.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad.
To us, we've had, that I can remember, no death threats or anything.
Nor have I.
That even better.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Is there anybody else also?
Go first.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for coming and giving us an update, like you said you would do. I've talked to several employees that are working on their this questionnaire, and nobody's complained or anything. They appear to be putting their heads down and trying to get it filled out.
Good deal.
What I tell them whenever they bring it up is that it's really important that they do their part correctly, so this thing turns out like we need it to. My main question was just going to be, are we on schedule? And I guess we need to define what that schedule is. I'm thinking it's to have this all done by the end of the year, calendar year. Is that what you're working toward?
Yes, or sooner. The
Okay.
only thing that we really don't have any control over is that when we construct the market survey on the compensation side that goes out to the market organizations, sometimes they don't put the same priority on that we do.
Well, that's understandable.
So usually what we'll do about 3 weeks into that part is, for the ones that haven't responded, we'll ask the county if they know anybody there where they can call and ask and explain how important it is to the county.
Oh, okay.
But normally it's anywhere from 3 to 4 months, depending on how quickly the market organizations get the surveys back to us.
Okay, great. Well, we just need it for next year's budget, so that'll work fine. The one last question is, this questionnaire they're filling out, are there other documents they will fill out, the individual employees, or just this one questionnaire?
Just this one
And
questionnaire.
that's it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, super. Thanks a lot. Appreciate the update.
Yes, sir.
If you guys don't have anything, I have one question.
I've got something just briefly.
Okay, go ahead.
So I've been talking to a lot of the county employees and made contact with some, and it seems to be going well. I have had a few that have had a little bit of reluctancy on this questionnaire and the fact that it's being turned over to a supervisor. So they're not, I wouldn't say that they're answering the questions truthfully at times, because, again, there's some reluctancy as to what the supervisor is going to say to their job description. You obviously are the experts in this. Is that traditionally the way that you guys obviously do that? And does it go back to the employee after the supervisor?
Okay, I was going to say 2 things, but we'll do 3 based on the last question. First off, for the classification to be accurate, we need to have an agreement up front on what the major duties and responsibilities of the position are across those 10 factors. And the way we do that is the questionnaire is completed by the employee and goes up the line.
Right.
And if there's anything that somebody says, no, wait, they don't do that, or you also do this, that's where we need to get the understanding, because to go through the classification process without that agreement means we would have to redo the whole thing at the end if somebody says, no, wait, I didn't see that list. Secondly, in my opinion, there is no way to take the document that you have, the questionnaire, and turn it in any way into anything to do with performance. There is nothing there that, for me, and I've done a lot of performance evaluation studies, it could be hot-wired to performance. And the third thing, we went through the questionnaire and orientation line by line with the employees that came to the meetings. And when we got to that last page where it has supervisor and department head comment, we told them that, based on what we've told them all along, that classification has absolutely nothing to do with an individual employee, just the major duties and responsibilities. If they hadn't had a chance to read the comments before our interview, they were more than welcome to read the comments, make copies of them, because really there is nothing in classification that deals directly with an employee.
All right, I think that, again, there was just a little bit of reluctancy. You have employees in Stokes County, and we all know this, that are working up, and probably some that are working down, working a level above what they are classified at now. And I don't want there to be any hesitation for them to put, if they think they're working at a level of their supervisor, then they need to speak to that. And I think there is some fear that if they speak to that, then the supervisor's going to say, well, no, they're not doing my job. I'm doing my job. So I can see a little bit of discretion there.
Well, what we're asking is that they give us, classification goes to minimum requirements. It's the minimum requirements of the position across those 10 factors. And if they're actually doing something that there's a disagreement with the supervisor, we would be glad to help with that in any way we can. But because we're only going to the major duties and responsibilities, that's usually at a minimum, but it does come up in a study.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, I did, but the other three commissioners, when you go next to last, they pretty much got all mine. The one thing that as the performance issue Commissioner Yachts brought up, and Commissioner Morris hit one of mine too, so two of my three were taken, and the other one really was answered through indirectly, and it was concerning licenses and certifications, and it was sort of brought into play there, so I'm good at this point.
Thank you, sir. That was the only question I had also, one that Commissioner Johnson asked, because I also had somebody reach out to me who was afraid to really be fully honest on the thing, when their supervisor was going to see it, and fear maybe getting in trouble over it. So you pretty much answered. Is at any point will you talk to employees one-on-one, or is this going directly to supervisor and you guys are picking up from there?
No, in the orientation, two possibilities. One, first of all, if the employee holds an administrative support position, we want an individual questionnaire, because although administrative support positions may have the same title, they're almost invariably doing something different for the different departments. Secondly, we tell employees if they have, outside of the administrative support arena, if they're the only employee with their job title in the county, we want an individual questionnaire. Beyond that, we tell employees if they have the same job title as other employees, and they agree, this is their determination, not ours, and they agree with those other employees that they're doing the same job, and our definition of doing the same job that we tell them is that if one of you were to be absent for an extended period of time, would it be a reasonable expectation for another one of you to fill in? And if that's the case, then they can get together and fill out a group questionnaire. And normally we get a little bit more detail in a group questionnaire, but it's their determination. If all of them want to fill out individual questionnaires, that's fine.
Okay.
The example we gave them, I once got a questionnaire signed on the back by 124 Sioux City firefighters. They said, we're all Sioux City firefighters, you don't need 124 questionnaires. So, and based on the questionnaires, whether it's a group or an individual, we will have an interview with either the group or the individual that filled out the questionnaire, because a lot of times we want to be certain that we fully understand what the employee is writing in the questionnaire on those 10 questions.
That's the biggest thing. We don't want nobody to hold back what they're actually doing. We want them to put it out there, paying for this. We'll make sure we get all the information correct. So,
Exactly.
I do appreciate you clarifying that for me. Is there Commissioner Walker?
Thanks, sir. I was just wondering if there are any employees that are exempted from the process, or is it all encompassing?
The only
We
employees.
didn't get a questionnaire, for example.
No, the only employees that, to use your term, for us would be exempted from the process would be those employees or those individuals holding positions that can't be classified. And by can't be classified, it means that holding the position is a determination on something other than the minimum qualifications as established and agreed upon by the county to be classified. An example there, if it was determined, and I know the sheriff's operations in North Carolina are different by county, but just use the example, if it was determined in this process that the sheriff needed a master's degree in law enforcement, it wouldn't fly, because you're basically saying you can't be on the ballot unless you have, a master's degree in law enforcement, because that's basically who would hire the sheriff, is the voters. So the positions for which there are stated minimums agreed upon by the county to be hired into the position, they would be the positions or the areas that would be covered by the study. Other questions?
Just one last
Yes.
question. During the rest of the survey, are there any points that you guys need to update us again, or do we need to, are we going toward the end sort of before we hear back from you? And the reason I ask is you're driving down here from Lewisburg, right, every time you do this. So if we need to have some incremental updates, I'm fine with that. But if we don't need to, then that's fine too.
Probably the next point, the next hard point that we would have to have input, and it would be more through the manager than us, is when we have developed what we call the preliminary market pay plan. That's after the market surveys come in and we've got the pay grades. And from that preliminary market pay plan, we would calculate what we call the implementation cost. The implementation cost revolves almost solely around those employees whose current salary is below the recommended new minimum salary for their recommended pay grade. And we do that at kind of the market average, which gives us all a place to start the discussion. We're not advocating that that you compete in the market in any place. It's not our point to advocate that. But you need information, you need data to determine where you want to compete in the market and where you feel you can compete in the market. So that would be the next major phase. But anytime you want an update, we'll be glad to come down, and I will. Anytime individually, if you've got a question or a concern, you can just give me a call. Correct. Sorry, thank you, sir.
In my opinion, that the point you just described would be fine for the next update, as long as the other board members are satisfied with that.
Well, it's a very important part in all of this, because for us, it's something that you need to be comfortable with on where you want to compete in your market, and we can give you some insight there and where you are competing and what it would cost to compete at the 50th percentile.
Okay, great. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Walker?
I just wonder if his assistant has anything to say. You're sitting
Well,
there.
no, she's not my assistant. She's there to handle the really hard questions. I
don't want to leave her out. I was wondering if she's thought of anything to add to the information you've been sharing with us.
I think one of the important things about the questionnaire is that this is the way we collect information that lets us best describe the job. We're not here to evaluate employees. This is not an evaluation process. This is learning about the job. And when we get into the market study and send this out to the localities, we have to have a good understanding of what each position is within your organization. And the best people to tell us what those jobs are the people who do it day in and day out. This is their opportunity to take place, to have their part, to have their voices heard. And I have been through these evaluations. I am retired from local government, and they are a very useful tool. I'm, really proud to be affiliated with it, because it's fair, it's just, And we do our best to be fair to all your employees when we come to talk to them.
I just want to say thank you for that comment, that the person that's doing that job should know that job better than anyone else. They do it every day. They know what's expected,
Exactly.
and I appreciate that comment.
We did a study, and I could not find the position anywhere. Their dispatchers were still called teletype communicators. You know, and until I talked to an employee, I did not know what that was. So it helps us understand. We can't do this in a vacuum, and that's what your employees are doing, or educating us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions, comments from the board? Mr. Roberts, anything you'd like to add to it?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we thank you so much for coming here, giving us an update.
Thank you.
And look forward to seeing this thing getting finished up here.
Thank
You have a good, safe trip back home.
Thank you, sir.
I always love
Sure.
He stops driving.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is the fire marshal office space. We have Mr. Aaron there for it.
Thank y'all for having me here tonight. You should have all got a letter and a map with a diagram of the office space that we're talking about located at Autumn Square. And in the letter, I described to you that the sheriff had approached me about needing some office space for juvenile probation. They're going to be adding on some offices and needing more room. And the question was trying to keep them close to the juvenile courtroom and to the sheriff's office. Myself and Glenda and Mark went around and tried to look at some different office spaces that would be sufficient for our office. Mark had brought up that Autumn Square had not been leased out in several months, that there was some office space over there, and the sheriff had also mentioned it. We went over and evaluated both properties, or both office spaces, had maintenance go over and do a cost analysis of what it would take to bring these two office spaces up to what our needs would be, going in and fixing damaged walls and just little stuff. And Mark got back with me this morning. He was recommending it would cost right around $5,000 to fix both places. They were both equally needing pretty much the same repairs. But like I said, we're just here tonight to propose that move to the space over at Autumn Square.
Questions or comments? Mr. Morse?
Thanks, Scott, for being here. First of all, when I was county manager, I always basically did whatever the sheriff wanted to do in that building down there, and I think that's probably kind of the way it should be handled. And it worked out well with him sort of overseeing who was where in locations down there. So if he recommends the probation folks going in, I'd be fine with that, and with you guys going to the other place. On the Autumn Square building, Julie can help me with this, but I would remind everybody that the business model for acquiring Autumn Square was that it gets paid for by rentals, and it will cost the county taxpayers nothing to buy that building. And we have been on that model, and it's worked up until this point. This is the first time I've heard that they have some space that was not leasing them, which surprises me a little bit because it's really reasonably priced, unless you guys have changed that. But it strikes me that you would be better in the upstairs building, upstairs part there, except that's the part that we rent and generates revenue. So I guess I would say, as long as the business model, we don't have a time constraint on how long it takes to pay for it, I don't think. And I think we're getting pretty close to having it paid for. I think we'd estimated 10 years to start with, right, Julia? Pay for Autumn Square. Was it 10 years to pay for it, pay it off? And we're getting pretty close to that, so.
I forget how many years it is.
Okay.
Not anymore.
Well, all this would, if you guys moved upstairs, it would probably stretch that out a little bit, but I don't see that being a big issue unless somebody else has a problem, because as long as we don't violate that original plan of paying for the building with rental income and not taxpayer dollars. So, with that being said, I'm good with whatever you guys work out for which location you want to go to.
We're getting enough rent to pay the debt, more than pay the debt.
Even without that, one office being rented? Okay, well, we're good then, I think. I'd recommend you go upstairs where you'd be more visible, but if that's what you want to be.
That was our thoughts with the public coming in to get permits and
Uh-huh.
plan review and stuff. It would be easier for them to come to the upstairs and be a more
Yeah,
business-friendly environment.
okay. Okay, good, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walker?
I just appreciate the information, Scott, and the update. Looks like a lot of thought and some planning has been put toward this, and sounds like you have a workable concept, and it appears from your letter the sheriff is on board with whatever decision you actually make toward using the space available. And I think the choice of upstairs or downstairs ultimately would be your choice, and considering things like you just mentioned, accessibility to our public, permits, those types of things. You maybe need to be in a more visible area of the building. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll
Yes,
stop
sir.
there.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, Scott, thanks for presenting this tonight. I don't have an issue with it at all as far as you guys going over to Autumn Square. And I had read in the letter where you said you really didn't have a preference. It sounds like you're just looking for more office space regardless. About 3 minutes ago, I would have said, yeah, I would prefer you be downstairs. And I'm not saying that I'm still kind of leaning that way, just because I feel like the upstairs is obviously the most attractive for trying to lease it to anyone outside in the county. But I would just encourage you and maybe the county manager and whomever else, Mark, to kind of talk through that, and let's make a decision that's an educated decision on what's the best going forward for the county and for you guys. I mean, if you need visibility and you need to be upstairs and that's where you need to be, then I certainly would support that, but let's be smart about it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manhole, you need?
Yes, just quickly, Scott, I think the two words that you used here in your letter, the two S words, sums it up for me that either space would be okay, where you say in your opinion that either space would be great spaces for office, and then you say and would give us the space and security. And, you know, to me, security is very important. And there are times where security is necessary in this position, along with the other spaces. So space and security, if either place will do it for you, I'm okay with either place. Thank you, Scott.
I think if it brings forward to us, no problem with this. Whatever, Terry, everybody give opinions on the action agenda for the next meeting?
Still a consensus, and I'm okay with it.
Jimmy and Rick? Y'all good? All right. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to item C, administration, building flooring. Mr. Oakley.
Mr. Chairman, this is something I just wanted to ask the board if they would love to move forward with replacing the carpet in this building. It's coming up on 20 years old. It is a high-traffic area with the public and the business that goes on in this county, and it's taking its toll. When I spoke with the board during the budget work session, you had an interest in maybe moving forward with replacing some of this old carpet that's needing of repair. So, we've done this with the DSS department, and we're switching over to a vinyl type plank, and that'll allow us to clean and mop and keep these floors a little more cleaner. This right here holds dust and allergens, and the vinyl won't. So this is what we'd like to go with, and if the board is interested in that, then love to move forward with getting you some bids, proposals on the actual cost that it would take to do this. And I do realize that the two main floors, the first floor and the second floor, is the one that is the oldest. Third floor was probably done in 2007. But if you keep everything on schedule, I'd probably just recommend that the entire building would be replaced, or we're going vinyl
Okay.
on things. So
I'm good about moving forward, get some prices.
I would say also I'm in agreement with you, Commissioner Nicholson. This carpet is a dust collector, just as they said. Anyone with allergies or anything of that type has trouble with this. We used this in the school system for a while, and I can assure you that we started switching over to different things and got away from this type of carpet. So I'm with you. I think we need to look into it and start moving on it.
No, I'm in agreement with moving forward. I mean, getting bids at this point wouldn't be a,
Hurt none at all.
no.
Mr. Moore?
Thanks, sir. Just curious, do we have the funds allocated somewhere for this type project? Do we have, Jake, anyone, do we have the funds already earmarked for a project of this kind? So it just have to come out of general fund? Well, I do agree it needs to be done, particularly when you look at some of the halls and the wrinkles in the carpet. If a person no better coordinated than me, it could almost be dangerous walking over some of those wrinkles and things.
very easy.
Tell me a little bit about your replacement material. I just want to be sure I understand what we're looking at as far as what would be here instead of the carpet.
A vinyl plank that is that interlocks together, that is waterproof, and it just allows us to be able to mop and clean and look after. We've already got some that we have replaced in 2 offices where some of the staff has been moving around. And I would encourage you to go by and look at that. I would also encourage you to go by DSS office and look at what all has been done there, because that entire building has been done. And it's,
Right. I've seen it, looks nice.
I've not yet found one employee that did not like it. They're actually absolutely in love with it. I went through the DSS office and just talked to every employee that office that I went by that they were in. Every one of them just loved it.
What about our maintenance folks?
Maintenance folks, they're loving it too. Your vacuum cleaners will hopefully will get put to the side, and we won't have to be buying no more of them. But they will be able to maintain these floors in a lot better manner. It's just going to be a win-win for everybody. It's just it can be cleaned, it can be kept clean, and it's just better for you folks to sit around and breathe clean air, maybe. You know, because I'm sure that this is contributing to some of the pollen and some of the allergens that people are suffering with.
Very good, thanks, sir.
You have HGD TV?
The
HGTV. They put that flooring in all the time. They update them houses. So if you get a chance to watch it tomorrow.
I used to have it. Thank you.
But go by DSS.
I've seen it, actually. It's very nice.
It's beautiful.
Commissioner Morris, you give about going ahead and get some quotes.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. Did we say during the budget we were going to do this year?
You was interested in it. You didn't say that you were.
Okay.
This will be something that, like Julie said, we would have to go find the money and wherever. She keeps all this money and for the county and how she's got it laid out. And
Wait to see what the estimate, I didn't have an estimate to look at it.
right.
Right.
And this is, just something, if you want us to move forward, it could come back to where you just feel like that if the cost is too much and you just want to look at maybe some of the real high traffic areas. But hopefully it's not that bad and we can do it.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to do it during the next budget cycle personally, but I'm not saying that I'll take a hard stand on that or anything. I would like to look at the 3rd floor. I don't really like the idea of replacing stuff before it's worn out. And then I don't know how bad the allergy problem is by the carpet. Maybe it's bad, but I was in here 9 years, it didn't bother me any, but maybe it does other people, and then I'm willing to go get some bids and stuff. I'd like to maybe look at if there's other options besides this vinyl planker that would be as good or better for similar, or what it costs or whatever. And what's the shelf life of it, the vinyl plank versus carpet? Y'all know?
The gentleman that did the flooring at DSS recommended that there for the high traffic areas, because it's pretty much the indestructible of the flooring that you can get as far as being waterproof, scratch proof, all that. More businesses put that in. Now it looks sort of like wood, but it's not. And Mark's staff cleaned this carpet in this building just, I think, last year, maybe a year ago. And all the stains have come back, and all those humps in the carpet they tried to smooth out back there that are kind of trip hazards in the back hallway. And those are all back again, too. So this area is probably one of the worst ones in that back hallway. But he didn't give us an exact timeline on the wear of it, but he pretty much called it the more indestructible flooring, as far as if we wanted something that's going to last us, the longest flooring we could get would be that type versus carpet or any other kind of flooring. And the little estimate that we had in there was just pretty much him looking at the gentleman that did that, just giving us a quick glance of the square footage in this building that would need carpet, approximate, kind of, not, all the floors together, sort of, but we definitely get 3 quotes if we were going to do it and have them look at it more seriously.
Well, I guess I'd do the 3rd floor if there was an economic advantage to doing it all at one time, but.
That's what the thought was there. If
I don't know,
not,
how long has it been since we did the 3rd floor? So it was
2007, I think is what they said. So, and if it doesn't save us any money, if it's going to be the same cost if we did it in 10 years, we certainly wouldn't look at doing it now. But if it's cheaper to do it all at one time, then.
Yeah, we could look at that. I'm gonna go up there and look at that carpet.
Yeah.
Can I ask, because I do not know the answer to this, does anyone in the room know how old this carpet is right here?
Almost 20 years.
Yeah, I think
Whoever the
somebody's,
builder was building,
yeah,
I'm
it's
sure.
the original carpet
Is
for
this the
here,
original
so.
carpet?
I would imagine so.
Yeah, that's
the way
what
all the
Mark was saying,
carpet is
it's
here.
original, yeah,
And so we're talking about 20 to 30 years old.
yeah.
And what I used to plead to the commissioners, now I can talk to myself. When I used to come up here as superintendent and ask the commissioners for capital monies was, I would ask for, I had to ask the question about carpet. And I'd always say, we had carpet in some of our schools that were 38 years, it was 38 years old. And I said, can any of y'all look me in the eye and tell me you've got carpet in your house now that's 38 to 40 years old? And I'd always look at Leon a lot of times because he was in the school system, so I'd catch Leon on that one. But, when you start getting something that's 20 to 30 years old of this nature, it's time to look at a change.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
I'm good with doing the bids and then going from there.
We can certainly ask when we bid out for, we want the flooring that's going to take the most wear, and if every company kind of agrees, then we'll get the answer you're looking for in that.
Okay. Where can we look at this stuff? Which office?
In the
Not DSS stuff.
your DSS, or you can look, when they trade the offices out between where Danny Stayball's old office used to be, where Glenda is, and where your old office used to be, where Glenda is now, and Tracy's there, those two, as they emptied them, they replaced that carpet.
Oh, okay.
You can look at those two.
I'll do that. That's all I have.
Yes, sir.
Another kind of follow-up question. This carpet in here, even though it's old, is not showing that many signs of wear, because this is a lightly used room. It usually just sits here empty until we folks come in and other people join us. But what about, even if we didn't replace all the carpet for now, what if we went in the direction of next year's budget, making it a budget item, which I'm also certainly willing to consider going ahead and doing it now. Could we at least do the halls and those particularly bad areas? Like 2 or 3 years ago, I started noticing these bad humps out there in that hall back there in particular.
That's bad.
and started asking, well, how long is it gonna be before we do something about this? So could we, if we're not gonna replace all the carpet in this budget cycle, could we at least look at placing the heavy traffic areas?
We can get a price. Our thinking was just to get them to price everything out
Sure.
and sort of give a price on what it would cost if we did sections or if we did a whole floor, or I imagine they'll charge us more to come back multiple times would be my only thinking, but we
Sure
can
they
certainly
would.
find that out.
But they may have enough work if we did most of the areas, maybe a few select areas we put off a while longer.
You're right about this back hallway, if we could do that.
Something
areas-
really
yeah.
needs to be done with areas like that.
Yeah.
It's not only unsightly, it doesn't speak well, I don't think, of the quality appearance we try to have for our county. I want things in Stokes County to speak of quality, to say we're doing things right. I don't get that when we let something go that far. And at least do what needs to be done as far as the main areas. And even if it did cost a little more to do it sequentially. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I want to proceed with getting quotes to everyone.
Yeah.
It'll come back to you on the discussion.
Yeah, good deal.
You've seen that area back there.
We'll move on to the last item on the discussion agenda, the Moortop grist mill stone. Mr. Oakley?
Mr. Chairman, riding around and looking at our new parking lots, and I hope y'all are taking this in and looking at what's getting done. And I would love I even spoke to Mark Delahunt about moving forward with, if there was any money left over, like you guys said, concerning the pavement, maybe paving some other areas. But as I was doing this and looking, I noticed that the grist mill stone that was just half buried, lying down at the Moortop Park on the rock furnace area. I had Mr. Delahunt, he went in and he got his tractor down there and he dug it out, and now it is leaning up against the actual furnace. I would love to go in and display this stone in a manner that shows what went on in this area back in the early 1800s. And at one time, the Moortop Milling Company set in a depression. I'm thinking, but I'll get more people that is more into the history of Stokes County to confirm this location, but it sure looks like it as far as the painting is concerned. But I want to display this grist mill stone in a manner that it brings the historical significance to this site. And we can do it in-house. I'm just looking at maybe about $1,500, and the cost there would be the material that would anchor and hold the grist mill stone, and then we would do a gravel base for it to all set on, and all the grading and fixing up will be done in-house. I got cost of the wood and material, and you was looking at about probably about $500 for all of that. And I figured maybe about $500 for a load of gravel, and then maybe some stone that we can lay around the bank, because there is a depression that drops down. But I think we can fix it up to where it looks really good, and it would display what's actually one piece that was part of this history of Stokes County, and we just allowed it to just lay there. So I'd like to fix it up, and it's not a lot of money there.
Do you have any pictures of it, actual, you ain't got none on the attachment here,
The actual stone,
well, the actual site right here.
that's the only thing I've got right now. It just, as far as what I took from the tax office and got Greg Hunt, so I could kind of sketch out where I think the location is.
Okay.
That location is based on the actual drawing that you'll see in pictures that Frank Duncan has done and other ones. And then you, somewhere right in here, you have a plaque that talks about the iron furnace and the mill that was there and how it was operated and who run it and who owned it. I just think it'd be nice if we displayed the stone in a manner that it needs to be.
Okay. Is there a high volume of traffic comes through there?
Very good. There's a lot of people down there on Saturdays and Sundays now, I'm gonna tell you that.
lot of people were at that shelter, and then there's a lot of river access people that get in and out there too.
And the Historical Society, they're behind this. They love for us to take pride in making sure that our history, where we came from, is honored and displayed in the manner that it brings honor.
I see no problem with the commissioner in the hall.
And like I said, we'll do it in-house.
Right, yeah, yeah. Well, I've been there many times. I know exactly where it is, and certainly think that anytime you can display or honor things that happened in your county, that makes the county proud of where their ancestry came from, is good. And I guess what I'm looking at also is we're talking about $1,500 in a house, which is not a significant. I mean, every taxpayer dollar is significant, but that is not a high price. So that's about all I have to say, Mr.
Thank you, sir. Historically speaking, if we have an opportunity to preserve something that's has historical significance, I'm all on board. It's not like the carpet where we can change it out in 20 years. If it needs attention, then I'm all on board for doing what we need to.
I'm liking what I'm hearing from my fellow commissioners. I had my thoughts along with hers toward preserving the history we have here in our county. We don't want to lose it. We want to keep it for those who are still to come, for young people. Really, even some not so young people still like history. So I'm on board. I'm wondering how much of a write-up there is for it. I mean, do we just have it sitting there, or was there some description,
It is mainly about the ironwork furnace. There's not a lot, but our work strictly with the Historical Society.
right?
I have already. They are well aware of this, and they are in full support of us displaying this. They actually had one at their site, Historical Society here at the Wilson House, the building, and I asked them about that one. I didn't know if there was two here where it was just there, and that one actually come from somewhere else. So all I want is something that actually pertain to the Mortalk area right now, and we can do something there later. But they are in full support, and they will do all the historical research and writing of this plaque.
Well, I'm certainly on board. I support this idea.
Mr. Morris?
First question I have is does the plaque that talks about the iron furnace talk about this already or not?
Not really. I read it.
All or not?
I looked at it. It talked. I think it says something about the Mortalk Mining Company, and you'll see a picture of the actual building that's sitting to the right of the actual furnace, and that's where I think this depression was, where this building was located. That's why I want to place it back at that on the stand, so in that location. But it really don't talk about the stone or the mining company. It mainly focuses on the ironworks.
What I would like to see done, my uncle used to collect these things. He had about 15 of them in his front yard. The way he displayed them was we put 2 bags of Sackcrete down, made a little footing like thing, and just set them on that footing. I'd rather see the money spent on some nice plaque that describes what the thing's all about instead of some kind of fancy thing to actually set the rock on. I mean, I saw the rock today. It's laying on the furnace down there, so it doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. I mean, other than some narrative to go with it about how you display it. I mean,
I agree.
So.
I'm just looking at maybe some 6x6 posts right now. That would be, have a base and go up a way that where it would be sitting in a big steel centerpiece and be displayed. And that wouldn't be that much. And then I've looked at some other ones. So it might be some other people have other ideas that would be better. And like you said, a concrete base and it sitting in it may be just great.
Historical people would probably be, I would say, the best ones to.
Yeah.
So that's all, yeah, I'm in favor of doing it.
And then get with me, I have some stuff I can donate to that. To help out, yeah.
Oh,
with
okay.
cost. So I'll be more than glad to do
Maybe
it.
we don't even need no money then.
We'll put it up here in this case we need it, but if that's the case, I'll do that right back to that. So.
There we go.
Is everybody good with putting this on action next meeting?
Or even consent.
Or consent, however y'all want to do it.
I'd say
Julie, you just
consent.
see that?
Because we've pretty well discussed it as much as it sounds like we need to. So,
Okay.
you on board?
Good either way. Okay, we'll move on now to our action agenda. Up first is a surplus property and upset bid procedure, and Ms. Pruitt's attending school this week, so we'll ask Shannon if she wouldn't mind taking
Yeah, I
care of
got it. So we have several pieces of tax foreclosed property on the county website available for sale. It seems like if you get one person bidding, you get a few at a time. So this just happened to come all at once. We've got 3 pieces that people have made an offer on. And required by general statute, we have to bring this to the board, and you have to give consensus for us to start the upset bid process, which just means that after this meeting, if you say, okay, we will put this in the paper, advertise it, give that 10 days for anybody to upset bid and come back in. Once we're ready to finalize, if there aren't any upset bids, we will bring this back for the final approval. But right now, I just need a approval on moving forward with the upset bid process.
Good. Make a
Second
motion to
it.
approve.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Yeah?
I have no problem.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Got my thoughts mixed up there for just a few seconds, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right, move on to the second item, the Stokes County Planning and Inspections Fee Schedule. Looks like Mr. Southers will not be here, so Shannon, if you won't mind also.
Yeah, David didn't make any changes to this. He did look around a little bit, like you all asked him to kind of check and see if this would be in line with some other counties, kind of what he's proposing. And he actually did a advertisement recently that was right at that range that he was speaking of, that he keeps going over, which was the almost $600 for advertising for an upcoming planning board meeting. So he feels confident in these that he suggested at the last meeting. And so unless you have any questions about that, and I think everybody was pretty well okay with what he was suggesting, he's ready just to move forward with those and getting that started, so as he won't be losing any money on these. And like you stated before, he's not looking to make a profit, he's just looking not to lose any money on all the requirements that he has to do for advertising all of these planning and zoning requests.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And moving on to the last item on the action, the sales tax representative. Let's see, Mr. Jason Perry.
Mr. Chairman, we have, like I said, we got Jason Perry here from the Board of Education, but this
Board of
is.
Elections.
Board of. Been a long day.
I understand.
He's probably smart enough to sit on that board. But anyway, I apologize, Board of Elections, Mr. Perry, and you had some requests for him to come by here and talk to you some more about this sales tax referendum and whether or not you want, what, if you did do it, did you want to go with primary or did you want to go with general election and any advice he may give you or whatever, so. You got any questions for Mr. Perry? You know, that's what he's here for, to answer some questions you may have on it.
I don't have any questions. I'm just going to say that I looked over that, Jason, and was a little surprised that the difference between the primary success rate versus the general election. I think one was 18%, one was 44%, which was quite a difference, more than I thought it would be. But I don't guess you have any rationale as to why the is that much difference.
And actually, Shannon, Ms. Shaver's the one that put that together for you.
I just did that from data collected online, and I
Right.
sent you copies of that too, where I got that from. Part of that big number two difference is there's so many more presented in the general, so not very many pass, and so that percentage comes down. So with like the primary, out of the 55 presented, 24 are successful, which brings that number up a little higher for overall. I was trying to give you something to look at to kind of quickly look and see the difference. And the NCACC has a lot of good information on their website for years back, compiled from different elections.
I just thought,
Yeah.
I just caught my eye when I looked at it and saw 44%, and then the other one was 18%. I said, gee, it just surprised me, but I certainly, the way I look at it is if we as commissioners are wanting to find every avenue or reason or rationale to get this approved, we'd want to go with the one that looks like has had the most success in the past in surrounding counties. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Walker?
I want to skip you.
You go right ahead. You had your hand up.
Thank you. Jason, appreciate you being here. I think you've grown a little bit more since I saw you last. Pretty good sized fella. I'm very much in favor of offering this option to our citizens, and would like to see it done on the primaries. And one of the reasons I support it as much as I do is because unless I'm missing something, and maybe anyone who has information that I might have missed could add to my thought process, but unless I'm missing something, this is a much fairer tax. The sales tax, consumption tax, is a much fairer tax than property tax. Property tax is just something that's there. People of all means have to deal with it. Sales tax is a fair tax in that it's the same for everybody. We also would benefit from tourism. We're attracting a lot of people to our county who don't own property here, and maybe with this type tax, a sales tax, we could actually reduce our property tax, which I saw an article in the paper. I don't know whether any of you folks saw it or not, in the Journal within the past few days, where Forsyth County is offering that option to their citizens, to citizens in Forsyth County. They said, look, we know you don't like taxes. I don't like taxes either, but they're kind of a necessary thing. It costs money to operate government. And if we can do it in the fairest way possible, I think that's a plus. And I'd like to see us do it in a way that gives it the highest likelihood of passing. And I think to do that, we have to attach it to something that our citizens can give a nod to. It may be schools, it may be reducing property tax, it may be a combination of both. We say half of it goes toward schools, half of it goes toward reducing the property tax. But either way, I think it can be a win for our citizens, and that's what I'm always looking for. Something that makes things better than they currently are. So I'm very much in favor of having on the ballot for the upcoming primary.
Mr. Morris?
Yeah, Jason and I had a short discussion on this today. I want to repeat back to him what he told me for the benefit of you guys and make sure I'm straight on it. First of all, I would prefer the primary too, because the percentages seem to lean that way. But my understanding is we have to do a resolution to get this process started. In that resolution, we can put what we're going to spend what we would spend the sales tax on, but we're not allowed to put that on the actual ballot, right? That's what you told me.
There's very specific wording of what you can, how to phrase it on the ballot.
Okay.
And I also got that information, as Shannon noted, from the Association of County Commissioners website, so I would refer to county attorney before you just take up the website.
Okay.
I mean, I would assume that that's accurate information.
Yeah, and that was my other question for Ty, is that what my position is that we use this only for school safety and security and SROs, period. I don't entertain any other use of it personally. And then my question is, is there any restriction for us in the statute of using it for that purpose, Ty? Is there? Education and security in schools, the same thing, right? Okay, good.
There'd be no problem using it.
Oh, okay.
And you can certainly state in your promotion what you intend to do. You can't do it.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Walker?
Follow-up question. Julie, when you mentioned that, it kind of rang a bell with me. I recall hearing that before. So how does Forsyth County, in reducing the property tax, if the sales tax referendum passes, how do they plan to deal with that aspect of it, I wonder? Any thoughts about that?
I thought when this was put in place, schools and economic development.
Because it was on the front page of the Winston-Salem Journal that they plan to use it to reduce property tax.
Well, didn't we actually end up putting more money in our budget towards the school this year? So couldn't you take that part back if you got this in place?
Possibly.
That'd be the way that would work.
Don't want to do anything that causes a breach of trust with our citizens.
Correct.
So don't want them to feel like we're doing some manipulating with the funds.
Which it wouldn't be. It's just
That makes sense to me that
Right.
we could look at something like that. But bottom line is, I'd like to see it on the ballot for the primary.
One more comment.
yes, sir.
Do you want, Jamie?
Jamie, you got something?
Oh, I was just going to say, I've said all along that I would prefer for it to be on the primary simply because when we're looking at budget next year, it's going to be critical whether we know if we do or do not have these funds available. Also, I think it's important to note what you said. This will supplement our security for our schools. The hold harmless funds, as Mr. Mendenhall or Commissioner Mendenhall is well aware, has went away drastically over the last 8 years from the state, and that funding was utilized for school security, SRO officers, things of that nature. So that's going away, so this would supplement that. So I'm in support of it and proceeding with it in the primary.
Just my last comment, I'm not against the property tax thing specifically, other than the fact that, first of all, this won't generate enough revenue to significantly impact the property taxes. It'll just give us enough revenue, I think, to cover the school safety, security aspects. And then the other part of that is, I think that's the thing that'll really sell it to the public. And if we start diluting it very much beyond school safety and security, I don't think it'll pass. So that's my reason for my position on it.
I agree. And that's why I hope this thing is that turned out being a really good thing, good revenue coming in, because I follow with Commissioner Walker right there. I'd like to see a decrease in the property taxes as well. Even just that little bit that helps our citizens here in the county, the less they got to pay, I think the better. So we're really capitalizing on our hanging rock right here. We've got more and more visitors coming to the county every year. The numbers is up. Sat with Mr. Oakley in the office. Yeah. So the numbers are going up, which is a great thing. So, yeah, I mean, we're one of the lower sales tax in the as far as county-wise in the state right there. So why not take advantage of it? Let's see if we can capitalize on people coming in and make it a little bit easier on the citizens. Honestly, the way I see it. Commissioner Mendenhall.
With our acknowledgement that when it's placed on the ballot, that the wording, we have to be careful as far as how the wording goes. I'd like, if, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, we have a Board of Education member here tonight. Could I address a question to her?
Absolutely. Ms. Tedder?
Ms. Tedder, we've talked about SROs and safety and security. And I'm wanting to ask you, since you are on the board, we did deal some with SROs this year. So I know you can't speak for all 5 board members, you're only one board member. However, my question would be, do you think that the board that you sit on would want it to say SROs and security and safety, or just maybe eliminate the SRO part and just say safety and security?
Yeah, that's what I do.
I'm inclined to say safety and security because I don't know how the sheriff would want that there on the SROs. I don't want to confuse the public on who the SROs report to. But it could help fund the training for the SROs that is going to be mandated very soon. And discuss that with the sheriff. For all SROs, they're going to have to do further training to stay on staff. That's very likely to happen, but I think for the promotion materials, safety and security, and get the sheriff's input on how. It is 2 separate.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Based off what we're gonna see right now, $0.25 cent, how much revenue do you think, see this right here bringing in a year?
I think the number that was quoted around during our discussion in budget time was somewhere around about 700,000, wasn't it?
I think it's 700,000 to 900,000, wasn't it, Julia, for revenue? The
7 to
revenue
9.
for the sales tax would be 700,000 or 800,000.
Possible generated by that quarter.
We have 4.75 for the state, 2% for Stokes County, and then this make us 2.25. Oh, I don't know.
I thought you did an estimate, you told us in the budget it was like $1 million or a little bit less than $1 million.
I'd have to go look back at my paperwork.
I think that you said somewhere between 7 and 9.
Did she? Okay.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Months to get it in place through the Department of Revenue.
Okay.
What? Yes, please.
I have brainstormed some ideas. I've talked to a few folks about what we could do with this money, where the initial funds could go to, and how to promote the programs. And if one major thing that I would like to see that we've been in discussion with the fire marshal's office is bringing an extra CTE class into the county for firefighter safety and EMS training. I think that would be a very popular program for our vocational classes. And they've already talked about a pilot program starting at South Stokes to follow the curriculum that's been going on in Patton County. Walkertown's got a successful program. Fire marshal here has got some ideas of where we can get free equipment. And Energy, I believe, is talking to him about where we can donate. I think that would be a great selling point in the program, as you're going to have a lot of resistance from older residents who say, I don't have a job in the schools. Well, this is a way to promote it, saying this is not just for the students, this is for one, it'll bring jobs into the community, and 2, that's who the training is going to be for the people that they're going to call 911 and have them.
And I love the idea that you're talking about putting that in place. I just want to make sure, Mr. Browder, would that fall under safety and security, where you're talking about putting a new class on, teaching fire safety, and would that still be okay?
Safety.
Okay. Okay.
In addition to that, CNA classes could do that. I know we already have funding for that, but if we were successful in getting this there, then we could maybe as a trade-off
Well, Mr. Taylor, I believe you just said you're going to take on a committee to advertise this thing for us. Did I hear that right?
Other recommendations of some good people who also possibly serve
That sounds great. Do I have a motion from the board?
Mr. Chairman, the board needs to pick.
Yep, the
Time frame.
time and which ballot y'all want to know?
Well, how should the motion be worded? I think
It's just
Mr.
that you're,
Brennan will get ready to make one.
That's okay.
How
Go
should
ahead,
it?
Commissioner Walker.
Doesn't matter. But what should we include in the motion to be sure that we've covered enough with it?
just that you're approving to move forward with this process and which election you would like to put that in.
On the
For
primary
right
or
now, 'cause
general?
then we'll have to bring back to you a resolution, all those things that need to go later, but for now, we're just approving to do it, number one, and which election.
You go right ahead, Commissioner Brennan. I'll get started, and I just had that question. So
Your experience is way above mine, Commissioner Walker. I'll be glad to let you go.
I was gonna let you make the motion, and I would second.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve, moving forward with placing the quarter sales referendum, on the primary ballot.
And I second Commissioner Mendenhall's motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
That'll just be with a resolution to follow, right, that we will
Yes,
approve
that'll
separately.
come later,
Correct.
yeah.
Okay, I'm in favor.
Once again, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right.
Make a motion, to hear our rationale to go into closed session.
Okay,
It's
so.
gonna take a 5-minute thing.
We'll take a break after we go
Yeah,
into
let's
it.
get this and then we'll take a little. So to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3, and to consider and take action with respect to the position to be taken by the county in negotiating the price or other material terms of an agreement for the acquisition or lease of real property pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A5.
All right, I need a motion to take us into closed session.
I'll make a motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion with adjourn.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Meeting adjourned.